What's up, everyone? It's Bones here. I'd like to begin this video by giving a huge shout out to TCG Player for the opportunity to be a part of their affiliate program. If you want to help a content creator out, all you have to do is click on the TCG Player link down below, and it won't cost you anything either. So I would like to begin by saying that I took a good part of this deck list from Phantom's YGO channel. I'll leave the link down below, but I happened to get some really cool replays that I wanted to show off since we are getting the Fiendsmith stuff. Keep in mind that this is a TCG replay. That said, I just wanted to go over kind of what the magical muskets do before we get those cards, and we're going to start here by watching the Voiceless Player have their full combo since they're going to start with the Herald. We don't really have any impactful hand traps since Nib doesn't really matter, and they're going to get the effect of Herald in order to bring out the Low. Use the effect of the Low to get the Continuous Spell. Use the effect of the Continuous Spell to search out the Saphira. Now they can use the effect of Saphira in order to send the Ritual Spell, adding themselves the copy of Skull Guardian. Use the effect of Saphira. This will give them the Omni Negative. They're going to tribute the Trias so that they can play around anything like a Bestial or Crow. We're then going to watch them get a search here for another copy of Saphira. They'll pass their turn, and we're going to then draw into the Link into the Vrains. This is a cool card in Magical Musketeers. Basically special summon one monster from your hand, but negate its effects. Then immediately after this effect resolves, Link summon one Link monster using monsters you control as material, including that monster. The Link summon cannot be negated. Also, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when a monster is Link summoned this way. If a Link monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect while this card is in your graveyard, you can banish this card, add one monster from your graveyard to your hand with the same original type as one of those destroyed monsters. So just a great card overall for Magical Musket since everything is Light Fiend, but then you also have the ability to make your max the ability for your opponent not to be able to respond to its summon or anything like that. But we're now going to use the Upstart, and the reason why I used the Upstart first was because I was really hoping to draw into an extra name, which I happened to do so. With the Desperado in hand, we can actually play around this board a little bit as we're going to use the effect of Desperado popping the Continuous Spell. Our opponent is going to go let that through, as we're then going to use the effect of the Casper. Our opponent is then going to negate that with the Skull Guardian. It's going to get destroyed, but this is why I wanted the extra musket name, because now we have the Link into the Vrain so that we can bring out the extra copy of Casper, go into the Max, use the effect of the Max, which will get ourselves a copy of the Cross Domination and the Dancing Needle. We can't get any monsters because our opponent has no spell traps, but we're then going to be able to activate a copy of Upstart, get another draw. We'll get a Kid Brave, go onto the battle phase, then at the damage step we can use the Cross Domination in order to make the Skull Guardian 0, and then from there we'll pass our turn. Now our opponent is going to start their turn here by using Low, as they're going to then use the effect of Low in order to get themselves the Continuous Spell. Use the Continuous Spell, which will get the effect Monster Saravis. Use the effect of Saphira, sending another copy of the Ritual Spell, adding a copy of Skull Guardian, and now we're going to activate the Dancing Needle, and this is going to prolong the duel a bit, as we'll see that our opponent is really not going to have any good answer to this, as they go into Linkuriboh, go into SP, use the effect of SP banishing the Max, and then they're going to activate the Odd Eyes Ritual, go onto the end phase. As we'll go onto our turn, we do get an Imperm, not bad, which we will hit the SP Little Knight with. They do have the Saravis though, or normal summon the Kid Brave, go into our Max, use the effect of Max, which can be able to get hit by Ash Blossom, so we won't be able to really do anything, as we're just going to go on to our opponent's turn. Then our opponent will normal summon the Herald, use the effect in order to send the Entis, and this is where they kind of made a mistake. Either way, they would have ended up triggering the Link into the Vrain, so they'll just get into extra damage, as they didn't have a good way to out it without destroying it. So from here we'll then be able to get ourselves the Casper back. We're then going to attack with the SP. From here they'll use the effect of the Continuous Spell, getting themselves the trap. Set the trap. We're going to end up drawing a copy of Imperm again, so not bad because it means that we can play around the SP Little Knight more effectively. And from here we'll then be able to normal summon the Casper, go into our Max, and now our opponent doesn't have a good answer for what's coming except Nib, and I think that they probably did this a little bit too prematurely, even though it really doesn't matter. The point is that they're going to end up nibbing, and they're actually going to end up tributing their Low, giving my Nib token 2k more defense points, but again, it really didn't matter. We're going to see it go all the way to 7,050, and the 5,050 had nothing to do with their Low either, besides the 50 extra attack points, so that's why I don't think it really mattered. But they're going to end up setting the Imperm, use the effect of the trap, as they're going to put back the Skull Guardian. They'll then be able to special summon out the Saphira. They're going to use the Continuous Spell, get themselves that copy of Skull Guardian. From here they'll then tribute summon for the Saravis, and we're not going to play into that, as we just have a Nib token, and all we have to do is continue attacking. The only thing that I was really fearing here is Imperm, and I just didn't want to to walk into the Saravis, as we're then going to watch our opponent draw another copy of Imperm. From here, we'll then draw again on our turn, as we'll then be able to go to the battle phase, attack over Saravis, and they will end up conceding. Now, for this second game, I would like to point out that there was a side error that happened to greatly impact the outcome of this game, and you'll see what happens momentarily. But our opponent is going to activate the pre-prep. I chose not to activate the Ash Blossom here because I felt like if our opponent was on the branded version and they didn't have any tributes, like we'll see now, they will be getting hit by the Ash Blossom on the branded fusion. So we are going to be able to hit that so that they can't really go off, and we do end their turn with that, as we're then going to draw a copy of Nib, and this is where we get in by the error of the side decking, and I put in the ghost spells. This should be a ghost spell, but for whatever reason it just didn't save, and we're going to continue here by normal summoning the Kid Brave. We'll then attack kind of a downside of the deck where sometimes it feels like you're playing Edison format versus Modern, and that's not necessarily the greatest thing you want to hear when reviewing a deck, but that's just kind of how it is with Magical Muskets and their ability to play with stuff from the hand and kind of relying on their normal summon and having a bunch of normal summons. So they're going to bring out the Odd Eyes. They'll then activate the Branded Fusion. They'll bring out the Sanctifier, and then from here they're going to go into the battle phase, attack over the Brave, then attack directly for 3k, and then they're going to go onto our turn, thinking that they can lock us out of special summoning and thinking it matters, but it really doesn't because we have the Desperado. So they're going to special summon out a couple monsters, as we're then going to normal summon the Kid Brave, activate the Desperado, which will then pop the Jogan, and this is where it really matters that if I had the Ghost Bell, I probably end up either winning or this goes on for at least a good while longer. But we're going to then go into the max, use the effect of the max, which will be able to get ourselves a couple of Magical Musket spell traps, and I ended up getting the Last Stand along with the Cross Domination just because I wanted to be able to stop any potential pre-prep or Branded Fusion or just a continuous spell, and then the Cross Domination would be able to out one of their monsters. Unfortunately, we can't target the Sanctifier. From here, we're then going to watch our opponent negate it, and that's perfectly fine. I just didn't expect that they would actually be on the Odd Eyes Wing Dragon. We're then going to continue here by going into the Lina, and this is where Nib should be Ghost Bell, and if it was Ghost Bell, we could stop their Bystial. They're going to banish the Jogan. Otherwise, we would special summon out the Jogan and clear the entire board, then put ourselves at 3 cards versus 1, or really versus 2 because they have the Odd Eyes and Pendulum Scale, but again, that doesn't do anything. Unfortunately, because of the side decking error, we're going to end up having to scoop, as we can't really do anything against 3 big bodies and just a Lina on board, especially since we're on low life points. Now, the last replay that I want to show is just a game 3 that I had versus Tyr. The game 1 and 2 really weren't worth showing, as game 1, my opponent just self-destructed on his own combo and ran out of cards before he can even build a board and just auto-scooped, and then game 2, he went full combo and all I had was normal summon, so I really couldn't play. But game 3 was a little bit different, and you'll see that we have mind controls, we have talent, so we actually have board breakers. And that's kind of something important when it comes to Magical Muskets. You really do need your board breakers in order to play. You don't want to clog on all your normal summons, since it's really all what monsters are. They're normal summons that you kind of have to hope survive being on the board, especially if you don't have Link into the Vrains. But our opponent is going to bring out the Rhino Heart. It's the meta noise. I don't understand why that wasn't Suliak, but then going to be able to mill off the Tearlaman's Kashtira, activate the Scream. They'll then be able to bring out the Tearlaman's Kashtira, trigger the Scream along with the Kashtira Tearlamans. They're going to get a few mills here, as they do end up sending a King Sark, Super Poly, Trivy Karma, Droplet, and Pearl Rhino. But Trivy Karma is a solid mill there, as it will be able to get them into an extra card. They're now going to bring out the Toad. They'll then be able to activate the Trivy Karma, get themselves the Suliak. Here they'll end up going into the Masquerena, as they'll pass on to us just the Toad, Masquerena, and the Suliak, and this is perfect for us because we top deck the Harpies, which doesn't really matter, but I mean, I guess it does because we will end up mind controlling for the Toad. Toad will end up stealing the mind control, and now we can just completely blow them out with the Harpies Feather Duster, since they won't be able to stop it. They will get the Tearlaman's Kashtira, but that's perfectly fine, as they're just going to end up special summoning it. They'll get some mills here off the Scream and the Tearlaman's Kashtira, end up hitting Field Spell along with Dangers, Suliak along with the Rhino Heart, which they have no card in hand, so it doesn't really matter, but they will end up adding the Havness. We're going to HFD now, as that will completely set them back since they didn't have any additions off the Scream and the Soliac that they could add off of that. I'm going to use the effect of Talents, which will end up stealing their IP Masquerena, and I just didn't want to deal with anything that they had, whether it be Appaloosa or SP Little Knight. We're going to normal summon the Starfire, activate the Mind Control in its column so that we can steal the Sharon, as we don't want them to fuse with it, trigger the Starfire. They'll use the effect of Havness. Here we'll then be able to special summon a copy of Kid Brave, as our opponent is going to use the Merly in order to fuse away to the Rhino Heart, as we'll watch our opponent shuffle back the Kid Brave, and this doesn't matter because we have access into Max already, so we're going to go into our Max, then be able to special summon out or add some traps to our hand. We're then going to use the Desperado to pop the Kaleido Heart. He'll try to activate the Kaleido Heart. We'll then use the Dancing Needle, and this is where we're going to banish, instead of any tier names, we're going to banish the Kaleido Heart along with the Horus cards. It's actually going to end up proving really useful, as our opponent does end up scooping right after this, but the next card in their deck was actually King Sarcophagus. As stated earlier, a lot of this list is very similar to Phantom's YGO list, where I do have the 5 copies of different names. They're just one-ofs that you can add off of Max. Really don't need more than that. There are times where I do wish I had the second copy of Desperado, just because it's a solid board breaker going second. That said, you are still reliant on having that normal summon in order to make it go off, so I do understand the one copy. The one place where my deck is completely different than Phantom's YGO is the extra deck, and it's just because I didn't get that far into the video. I just really wanted something for the main deck. I already had an extra deck kind of in place in my mind. I didn't know what I wanted to do with the main deck before making this video, and that's where the upstarts, the mind controls, the link into the Vrains and stuff like that really came in to help this deck out. Then you'll see in the side deck there are some other options that you can play here, but the bells, which have been in that voiceless game too, and that should have been a longer replay. I apologize for whatever happened during that game, but you then have the 3 Soul Release, the 1 Change of Heart and the Snatch Steel, the Harpy's Feather Duster, the 3 Cyclones. Again, just back row hate along with more stuff that you can activate in your column so that you can trigger off your magical muskets. And then the Even Lead, just because I kind of wanted a card that could even out the playing field, so that you're not constantly behind. The way I like to compare magical muskets a little bit is almost like playing Modern Listen. Again, as I said, that's not really the best thing that you want to hear. It's because you really rely on that normal summon, and those 1-for-1 interactions do have the capabilities of just plussing crazy off of Max. That still has to resolve as well. So anyways, I'm just going to get onto the card by card, as I don't have much else to say. We have the 1 Calamity, the 3 Starfire, the 1 Doc, 3 copies of Casper, the 1 copy of Cross Domination, the 3 Kid Brave, the 1 Kid Crown, 1 copy of Desperado, the 1 copy of Dancing Needle, 1 copy of Last Stand, the 2 copies of Tactic Tasking. We then have the 1 copy of Talents, 3 copies of Mind Control, the 3 copies of Upstart, 3 copies of Link, the 3 copies of Nib, the 3 copies of Ash, the Taylor, and the 3 copies of Imperm to round out the main deck. Onto the extra deck, we have the Underworld Goddess, Access Code, Swarm Ship, and Promethean Princess, which you make off of the Phoenix. Then you're going to have the 1 copy of the Nightmare Unicorn, 1 copy of IP, SP. We have the 1 copy of the Muckraker from the Underworld, and I play this just because it's a way to get back one of our magical muskets if we have to. Then we have the Dark, the Lina, and the Hida. Hida, again, is here just in case you need an extra option to go with your Promethean Princess, and especially because it's fire format, kind of nice to have since there's a lot of targets that you can bring back. Nightmare Phoenix, and the 3 copies of the Musketeer Max to round out the extra deck. And onto the side deck, we have the 3 copies of Bell, the 3 copies of Soul Release, the 1 Change of Heart, the 1 Snatch Steel, HFD, 3 Cyclones, and 3 Anti-Spell to round out the deck profile. So for everyone who's made it this far, I'd like to thank you for watching and for the 700 plus subscribers. I truly appreciate your support, and now that we've monetized the channel, giving us access to supers and memberships means that more awesome stuff is on the horizon. To get the channel membership, just click on the description below, and there will be a link that takes you there. You'll also notice a free Discord link that I've made for us too. If you want to support me as a content creator, even if you can't donate supers or get a membership for the channel, clicking on those thumbs up and subscribe buttons help a lot too. For those wondering, I do plan on making updates to the channel as the support on the channel grows. Anyways, I hope to see you on the next one. It's Bones, signing out.